Okay, so I just want to do a touch on this topic of there's physical evidence and signs in your environment that something is not lined up and something is not appropriate. So I just want to touch on that. So when I'll give you an example. Okay, so at this one point in my life, my aunt had died, and and I was her caregiver, and so I was looking into different apartments, like where did I want to live at this point, and again waiting on the Lord to line things up. And at this time, I was still teaching yoga, and my good friend, who was another yoga instructor, said, hey, there's this great place that I found. It's set up as like two different apartments and two different bedrooms and bathrooms, and we would share a kitchen, but yet we'd each have our own yoga studio area where we could see clients, and there's two separate entrances, and it'll be amazing. And so and she pursued the opportunity for me to take a look at it. So I went to take a look at it. It wasn't like I was like going, like looking for an apartment on this street or whatever. Like it literally like came to me as an offering. Okay. So I went to take a look at the apartment, and it was in Bolton Hill, and I already had a client base at Maryland Institute College of Art. So it was really a great location because I was already familiar with it, etc. And I was like, yeah, this is great. So gave my money, gave my deposits, all this stuff. I start moving in my stuff. And of course, for me, the biggest room that I always focus on is the kitchen, because I have all of my like glass ball jars and all of the different ingredients of how I food prep and this and that. So like that was the majority of my setup, was setting up the kitchen area. And then as far as all my stuff, it was like I could put all my clothes in one suitcase, and I had like a Japanese futon mattress that I could literally roll up and shove it in my car. I mean, that's how simple I was living. So really it was the kitchen, like having all of the ingredients for food prep, and the blenders and juicers and dehydrators and all that. That's what I spent the most of my time setting up. So the kitchen set up, I open up the room that was going to be my bedroom. I lay down the Japanese futon onto the floor, and in this particular apartment, the kitchen was in the basement, okay? And like the main kitchen for the entire house was in the basement, and that was the kitchen that we were going to share, right? And I didn't really get to like cleaning the kitchen or anything. It was more like I just had moved in my portion of stuff, of food inventory and food appliances. So I go to sleep after all that day of setting up, and I wake up, and there's literally a mouse that like runs over my face, and I was completely like, oh my gosh. And I stand up and I turn the light on, and the entire floor of this entire apartment is like just flowing with mice, and just they're everywhere. The whole floor is filled with mice, and they're all going to and from the sink where the garbage disposal is, and they're like jumping up and down, like going in and out through the garbage disposal, and there's just like so much mice. Like it was just so crazy, and I screamed as loud as I could, and I like grabbed my purse and went outside, and then my keys in my purse, and I went outside and like dumped my purse outside on the concrete on the street, and like went through everything in my bag to make sure that there was nothing in my purse, put everything back into my purse, got in my car, and like started to call my friends at like 2 o'clock in the morning, like, oh my gosh, this just happened to me, blah, 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 I'm not going back. And then I called my friend and said, hey, I need your help to help me pack this up. I'm like getting out of this lease. Like this is insanity, right? So for me, the sign of rodents being present in someone's home is a direct symbol that they are out of alignment with God, okay? And so for me, it was like a no-brainer. Like, I'm not living in that type of environment. It's over, right? And so then at that point, I lined up to live back with family temporarily while this apartment was being built, constructed for me in the way that, it was going to be designed for my needs, etc. So the point is that this whole thing of like having a mouse run over your face, seeing that there was a rodent problem, like a blatant rodent problem. And the point is, the other roommate, the yoga person, that I knew, she knew this, okay? She knew it, but she had a different mindset, and her mindset was, oh, it's no big deal. We live in the city. You just have to expect that kind of thing. Like, no, I don't have rodents in my home. That's not part of my reality of how I live, okay? So I was out, and I got out of the lease, okay? And the point is, when a person already knows this, they already know that the rodents are a problem, they need to, share that at the onset of when you're trying to sign a lease. Like, for her to withhold that information, knowing that that was really like the truth of the situation, that's her being manipulative, okay? And expecting that I'm going to lower my standards of living so that I could be living with rodents. No, absolutely not, okay? So what I'm getting at is, when rodents are in your reality, okay, it is a direct symbol that something is out of alignment, that the people that are living there are out of alignment. And it may be your neighbor that has the problem, and then it travels from one townhouse into the next. That's totally possible. But the point is, this girl that had been living there for over a year or something before I actually moved in, she was dealing with it and living with it, and not dealing with the situation. She wasn't paying for a rodent removal. She wasn't, you know what I mean? She wasn't handling the situation. She wasn't encouraging all the neighbors to get it done so that the treatment could be finalized. You know what I'm saying? Like, she just wanted to have a roommate to share in the expense of the expense, but she was not being honest about the living environment and what was really going on, okay? So, anyway, this is an example of that. Sometimes when rodents are present, it's an indication that people are not under God's alignment. It's a curse, okay? Now, that's not the same thing as, you find a little mouse in your garage in the winter as you're pulling your car in. That's a totally different scenario than being completely infested with mice or rats or rodents, okay? Completely different scenario, okay? One little isolated thing versus a huge problem. So again, it's like getting on your knees, getting into the Word, asking God to reveal to you, where are you out of alignment? Why is this problem happening? Being led to correct the problem if you're in a situation where that is the reality of a toxic environment, making your escape and exit plan to get out of that environment, to find a better living place, or dealing with the problem in the way that you can to resolve the problem so that you're living in a clean environment that is free from rodents. So anyway, that's my take on that, and I'm going to pick up with a different topic. Thank you.